Rovash sat in the big soft chair close to the hearth fire. He was holding the small survivor in his arms. He had opened his shirt and folded her into it where she lay curled up. She was a pale fishy gray, shaking with horrible chills. Rovash did all he could to warm her. EJ will be okay, Fionna said, tiptoeing into the main hall. She wanted to ease Rovash's worries. How is she doing? Not good, Fionna. I am not her kin and she is weak. Is there anything we can do? Fionna asked. I'm sorry, Fionna. I think she will fade again into true death. I can only give her what small comfort we can now afford. Fionna saw the tears welled up in Ro's eyes as he stared at the fire. I can see now my brother is bound to you, Fionna. He almost perished because you struggled to come back from the realm of healing. I will not let you try this again. I cannot risk losing you both. Ro said quietly but firmly, not taking his eyes off the flame in the hearth. I'm sorry, so sorry. Fionna just quit talking, feeling the weight of his words, knowing an apology meant little right now. Fionna knelt down and huddled over the side of Ro's chair to hold the tiny elven girl's weak hand. Her golden brown hair was a tangled mess. It hung down in great mats past her thin shoulders. She might have looked like an adolescent at first glance, but after talking to her, Fionna knew she was older than all of them. Fionna saw flashes of sailing ships, ocean breezes, and gardens filled the girl's mind as she slept in the big man's strong arms. Fionna sat up with a gasp, quickly letting go of the girl's hand. She feared something terrible might happen if she accidentally fell asleep. Then she got an idea. Can a wizard help? Fionna thought to herself. This sickness looks the same as when your brother came back into this realm, Fionna explained to Ro as she looked closer at the tiny girl. She peered down into her face, placing her hand on the girl's forehead. Ro looked nervous, ready to pull away. Do not worry, Ro. I've done this many times on your own brother. Through mental concentration, Fionna worked to revive the girl with the same magics the wizard had taught her. She was relieved when she didn't blunder and the spell worked. That would be just my luck, she thought to herself. The girl's eyes fluttered open. Hello? What is your name? Fionna said in the girl's own language, knowing she didn't have much time. I feel not well, she whispered, barely moving her lips. You have just come back from a curse. It is expected. Will you stay with me? Are you the one? You held my hand out of the cursed sleep. The girl struggled to see Fionna better, but her eyes were clouded over like ice. Yes, I am your kin. Will you stay with me? Fionna asked firmly, needing to hear the words. My name is Naalin. I will try to stay. To thank you. Then sleep for now, Naalin. Fionna moved her hand over the tiny elf girl's face and her eyes shuddered closed into a controlled sleep. Her name is Naalin, Fionna told Rovash. She is trying to stay with us. We must keep her warm and wait until EJ can travel in the morning. We should bring her to the wizard Sibyllus to see if there is something he can do to strengthen her, to ensure her survival. That is all we can do. I will carry her, Ro said gratefully for some hope to hold on to for the girl's sake. Fionna grabbed a blanket from nearby and wrapped it around them both in the big chair. "Till morning, then," she whispered as she hugged them and kissed Ro on his worried brow. Fionna went back to Egelam in the other room. Again, she felt the weight of this day hit her like a rock slide. She crawled in next to EJ and fell into a fitful sleep. So, our friends have found more Edelin, but only one survivor. What a horrible and wondrous thing. Seeking the wizard's help might just be the answer to all their problems. It seems getting away from Eldelórne would be helpful as well. Hopefully not forever, though. The trees. We'll just have to listen to the rest of the story to find out what happens next. And if you like what you're hearing, don't forget to give us a 5-star review and a giant smiley face so I know you're out there. My name is Karleigh Bond. I am the author-narrator of the Tales of Eldelórne trilogy. Find a cozy chair and maybe even a cool drink as we meet with Chapter 25, She is Naalin. And now for the rest of the story. After saying goodbye to Eldelórne, our friends headed out to Autumnwood Forest to find the wizard Sibylist. I have to learn to control myself. I am so thoughtless, Fionna said out loud for what seemed like the 1400th time. EJ could see what Fionna was doing to herself and slowed his pace to speak. You must stop being so hard on yourself. I dragged you both into danger. This is not funny. I'll be the death of my loved ones if I cannot learn to use my mind and think first. Ro would have found himself alone in desolation. Again. The thought of the pain she saw on his face the night before broke her heart, and she began to cry. Egelam reached out and grabbed her by the hand. Fionna, you're the youngest of us. If there is fault to be found, it is in your elders for listening to you. We let our hearts lead us because it was the right thing to do. We knew the risk. Fionna could see Egelam's sincerity. It did not ease her sadness. EJ winked and smiled his bright smile at her. She was so struck she couldn't say anything for a moment and almost stopped moving. How do you do that? She cringed at him, still angry with herself. Hurry, or we'll have to carry you too, EJ teased her. They took off running even faster to catch up with Ro, who was getting way too far ahead. Rovage cradled Naalin loosely in his arms, so she would not feel the jarring pace as he ran. The girl's skin was still gray and fishy, but she moaned and moved now and then. Rovage thought he felt her snuggle closer. It was a good sign of life. He was hopeful for her sake it was true. They finally arrived on the edge of the forest in half a day's run. Do you remember the way? Rovage half shouted, catching his breath. The forest all looked different from the last time. The surrounding daylight was also different. We could climb up a tree, Fionna said with a determined voice. Let me try that again. EJ gave Fionna a boost into the closest tree, and she quickly climbed to the top. She was sure the wizard's house was east, but there were no lights to see in the daylight, so she was just guessing. I feel a strange longing, Ro confided to his brother. I've been gone too long from the fort. I agree. It has been too many weeks. We'd been lulled into a kind of idleness. I suspect our mother's home is somehow infected by the island curse. EJ frowned unhappily as he said it. Huh. Rose scowled as he realized EJ was probably right. His mind did feel clearer the farther away from Eldelórne they ran. After Fionna came out of the tree, they all started moving to the east. Soon it became apparent they weren't on the right path. "This is not the way," Fionna blurted out, having realized they went too far into the autumnwood forest. "I remember there was a pond, a small river, a clearing. This path is not it." Fionna felt a growing fear in her gut for the lack of time and realizing they might be lost. All they could see were trees and more trees. Panic began to rise in Fiona's chest. She shook her head, trying to clear the strange feeling creeping into her mind. "Look here," Rose said, rubbing his foot across the ground. "A path. This is the hidden elven trail. We must stay on it, otherwise the magics in this forest will make you lose your wits." EJ firmly pulled Fionna over to himself and entwined their fingers together. He could see she was not well. "Out of the fire into the frying pan," Ro mumbled to himself. "We must move quickly then," EJ said, keeping a good grip on Fiona's hand. "Where do we go then, brother?" Ro turned to him and with a serious look on his face said, "We go into the kingdom of the Eldar seer, King Elindual." On the evening they stumbled upon the wizard's home, they were being watched. King Elindual saw them through a large glowing orb. On this day, the eve of starlight and memories, Elindual came into his full power and covered the land with deception so Thendiel's sons would have to find their way to his palace. The king had refused to leave when the migration of the Edelin had reached an end. Even when his son and daughter finally went to join the last ships, he stayed behind. It was the start of the Fourth Age back then, and he too had felt the yearning of Untuoni's song. Like waves crashing into stone cliff, he weathered the pain. Through many long ages, Elindual had seen with his own eyes many wars and the corruption of men and dwarves and Edelin alike. He grew tired of this place, but in his resolution he sat waiting. The mother of these young ones honors all of the creation, giving into this realm a son most high. I will not leave here for the sake of him and his beloved mother. And so it was. The king refused to go. He sat guarding his hidden kingdom and waited. And he knew in his wisdom this day would come. Rovash, Agelam, and Fionna walked forward into the forest for what seemed like hours. They had almost lost the trail several times, but Ro's tracking kept them on the path. It was getting dangerously dark. Suddenly, the path opened up. They found themselves in a clearing. In the center was an abandoned ivory-colored bridge that spanned across a rough field. It was almost hidden with all the vines that had covered it. Trees had broken through its sides, sundering the stone into pieces. They followed the thin path that led them to a gate that looked greenish-gray in the evening darkness. It stood split up the middle into two huge, ornate, heavy doors that had no visible keyholes or handles to open it. Ro pounded on the door. It echoed hollow and desolate beneath his fist. I'm sure they all left for Ilmatar long ago, EJ whispered tiredly. He too felt the disorienting effect of the forest creeping in on him. Fionna wandered away to lean on the bridge rail and wait for the guys to sort this out. The king owes us help, and I know now he is here, Rovash said with certainty. He's not home, Ro, EJ whined. This door would not be seen if he was not here, EJ. He was not a king like the others. He was always hidden from the realm, even to the elves, unless he allowed it. Then why, brother, does his forest defenses poison us if he wants us here? Everyone left or died, and someone forgot to turn it off. EJ accidentally swung at Ro as he stumbled sideways. Hey, could you try to knock again or yell or something? Fionna weakly pleaded, not quite sure what she was thinking anymore. The guys just stood there arguing. They looked like they would soon come to blows if she didn't do something. Ro might even drop the girl in their addled frenzy. Fionna made a fist and held it up in front of her eyes so she wouldn't lose track of it. With great effort, she staggered forward to pound on the gate. Hey, you in there. Greetings to anyone. Is anyone home? Her words slurred as she ran the last few steps with her fist ready to crash the door down. To Fiona's surprise, the gate slowly opened with a grinding creak to her light push. She lurched back, eyes bugging wide because there in the opening stood the king. Oh my gosh, King Elendil is still alive after all these years. He has to be the oldest living thing in the entire realm of Angeli. I would guess about 15,000 years to be exact. He must be just brimming with wisdom or insanity. Well, I guess we'll find out next week. So come back for the rest of the story. See you then. Bye-bye. Elvish lesson of the day. Suil, straight up greetings to you. Suil, S-U-I-L. The Edelin stand on a lot of formal greeting because what else do you have when you live so long? I am joyous to meet you. May the morning be good. You are well met. May the Ovanin. I guess you've heard that one before, but it has been a long time. May the Ovanin. You are well met. Okay, you can stop bowing now and walk through the door. Suil Malanamine. Suil.